Somewhere between 95 and 98% of the AML alerts your team looks at today are false positives. That number has been quoted in this industry for years, and at some point we stopped questioning it. We built entire teams around a 95% waste rate and called it compliance. Let me show you what that actually costs. Start with the number, because people assume it's an exaggeration. It isn't. If you've worked anywhere near transaction monitoring, you already know the shape of it. Out of every 100 alerts a rules-based system throws, somewhere around 3 to 5 turn into anything worth reporting. The rest get cleared, reviewed, documented, closed, gone. So why is it that high? It's not because the systems are broken, it's because of how they're built. Most transaction monitoring runs on rules. If a cash deposit crosses 10,000, if a wire goes to a higher risk jurisdiction, if transaction velocity jumps past a threshold, if a customer's activity moves outside their expected profile. Each rule is a tripwire, and tripwires don't understand context. A rule doesn't know that the customer who just wired money to a higher risk country does that every quarter to pay a supplier. It doesn't know the structuring pattern it flagged is a small business making its Friday deposits. It fires on the surface shape of a transaction, not the story behind it. So the system generates alerts by the thousand, and the vast majority describe completely normal behavior that happens to match a pattern somebody wrote a rule for. Here's the part that matters. That 95% isn't an accident. It isn't a bug the vendors haven't gotten around to fixing. It's a choice. And once you see why teams make that choice, the whole thing makes sense. Every monitoring team makes a trade. It's the oldest trade in detection, and you can't escape it. You can tune your system to be precise, meaning it only fires when it's fairly sure something's wrong. Fewer alerts, less noise, but you'll miss things. Or you can tune it for recall, meaning it catches almost everything suspicious at the cost of flagging a mountain of things that aren't. Now think about the incentives on the compliance side. What happens if you tune for precision and you miss a real one? A missed alert can become an enforcement action, a consent order, a fine with your program's name on it, in the worst case, a criminal referral. And the person who signed off on the tuning that let it through, their career is the collateral. Nobody gets fired for having too many alerts. People get fired for missing the one that mattered. So of course teams tune for recall. Of course they set thresholds wide. Of course they'd rather review 1,000 nothing alerts than explain to a regulator why the system stayed quiet. It's the rational choice for the individual analyst and the rational choice for the chief compliance officer. Given the rules they've got, drowning in false positives is the safe play. That's the trap. The safe play for each person produces a broken system for everyone. FATF asks institutions to report suspicious activity, and the reasonable fear of under-reporting has quietly turned into a culture of over-alerting. We defend ourselves with volume, and volume has a price. It just doesn't show up on the invoice. When a bank adds up the cost of transaction monitoring, it counts the software, the license, the tuning consultants, maybe the case management platform. That's the number that goes in the budget. That's not the real cost. The real cost is the analyst, specifically your best analyst, the one who's been doing this for 8 years, who can smell a layering pattern, who knows the difference between a weird transaction and a wrong one. That person is worth their weight in gold to a financial crime program. And where do they spend their day? Clearing alerts that were never going anywhere. Think about that. The single most valuable pattern recognition instrument you have, a trained human brain, pointed at a queue that is 95% noise by design. They open an alert, they pull the customer profile, they check the history, they write the disposition, they close it. False positive. Next one. Same again. All day. Now here's the second cost, and it's worse. The 3 to 5 real ones are sitting in that same queue, same list, same priority, waiting their turn behind the 95 that don't matter. Your genuinely suspicious activity, the account that's actually moving criminal money, is queued right alongside the retiree who moves some cash to help a grandkid buy a car. The analyst who's cleared 60 false positives since lunch is tired. Their attention is thinner than it was this morning. And that's the environment the real one has to survive. Not a fresh, sharp reviewer, a worn down one on alert number 61, pattern matching on autopilot. That's alert fatigue. And it isn't a wellness problem, it's a detection risk. When you make people wade through that much noise, you are statistically guaranteeing that some real signals get cleared as probably fine because the reviewer has seen 60 things that looked exactly like it and every one was nothing. We manufacture the noise. Then the noise hides the thing we built the whole system to catch. Now scale it up and watch what happens over time. Alerts come in faster than a team can clear them, so a backlog forms. Not because anyone's lazy, but because the math doesn't work. If each alert takes 20, 30, 40 minutes to investigate and document properly, and the system fires thousands a month, you will never be at zero. You're managing a tide, not a to-do list. And the backlog isn't just a productivity metric. When a genuinely suspicious pattern is sitting in a queue for weeks because it's stuck behind noise, your suspicious activity report goes out late. Late SARs matter. The whole point of a suspicious activity report is to give law enforcement a timely signal. A report that lands 60 days after the money moved is a very different thing than one that lands in a week. There's a quieter cost too. When you're under backlog pressure, the temptation is to file defensively. File a SAR on the marginal case just to clear it off your desk and cover yourself. So now the same overcaution that floods your internal queue starts flooding the financial intelligence unit with low-value reports. The noise doesn't stop at the bank's walls. It leaks into the entire reporting system that's supposed to catch real crime. So the 95% doesn't just waste analyst hours. It delays the reports that matter and buries them inside the ones that don't. Everybody downstream inherits the noise. So what's the fix? And I want to be careful here because the wrong answer is easy. The wrong answer is tighten the rules until the alert count drops. That just moves you back toward precision and reintroduces the exact risk that made everyone tune for recall in the first place. Fewer alerts by itself is dangerous. You can get to a quiet queue by going blind. The goal isn't fewer alerts. The goal is fewer bad alerts. Higher quality. The system should be able to tell the difference between a transaction that looks unusual and a transaction that is actually suspicious, using the context a flat rule can't see: the customer's real history, the behavior of connected parties, whether this pattern has a plausible, legitimate explanation the rule never considered. When you do that well, two things happen at once. The queue shrinks, so the backlog becomes manageable, and the real ones stop hiding because they are not buried under 95 decoys anymore. Your best analyst gets to spend their best hours on the alerts that actually deserve a human brain. And to be clear, a human still decides. Better alerts don't replace the analyst, they aim the analyst. The judgment call, the SAR decision, the escalation, that stays with the person who's accountable for it. What changes is that they're making that call on a queue worth their attention. That's the shift, from more to better. From a wall of noise you defend yourself with to a signal you can actually act on. I'm building Flux Force because a 95% waste rate should never have become normal. And somewhere along the way it did. Aiden Flux, our fraud detection agent, is live today, and the whole idea behind how we are building is simple. Give the analyst a queue worth their time and leave the decision with the human who owns it. If you run an AML program and you watched your best people burn their day on alerts that went nowhere, I want to hear about it. How high is your false positive rate really? What's it doing to your team? Those answers shape what I build more than any spec ever could. Links in the description. I'll see you in the next one.